Chewing elk, Comanche, 1872. Spotted hawk, Northern Cheyenne, in Montana, 1890. The photo is by Christian Barthelms. Source is Montana Historical Society. The next one is Curly, he's a crow. 1883 is when this picture was taken. The photo is by Frank J. Haynes, and the source again is Montana Historical Society. The next picture is of Black Bear making a speech. Black Bear was a Blackfoot. This was done in circa 1906 in Montana, and the photo is by N.A. Forsyth, and the source is Montana Historical Society. This next photo is of a Salish family in Montana again, early 1900s, and the photo is by Frank H. Nowell. Source is Yale Collection of Western Americana. The next photo is Pretty Horse, daughter of White Bull, Sioux, again Montana, circa 1861 to 1881. The photo was taken by Stanley J. Moreau. Source is Montana Historical Society. The next is an Arapaho man, unknown name. But in 1898, this is taken in Wyoming. The photo is by Baker M. Johnson, and the source is University of Wyoming, the American Heritage Center. The next photo is of a Lakota man in 1895 to 1899 in South Dakota. The photo is by Jesse H. Bradley. Source is Denver Museum of Nature and Science. The next one is of an unidentified man from Taos. We think he's Pueblo, and this is taken by F.E. Evans, 1900s. The following picture is Frank, Howling Wolf, Cheyenne, taken in 1913 by a man named Williams. This is a source from Princeton Digital Library. This photo is called Home from the Hunt, taken in Taos Pueblo in New Mexico in the early 1900s. Photo is by Carl Moon and Fred Harvey. Source is Huntington Digital Library. The next is a man named Man Not Afraid of His Gun. Pretty awesome name. Taken by DeGraff W.H. in 1890. You notice the ceremonial headdress and the ceremonial shield. The next photo is the Sioux Chief Jack Red Cloud, taken in 1904. This is High Bear, is Lakota, taken in 1900. And this photo is by Hine and Matson, and the source is actually the Library of Congress. This chief is a chief named Chief White Bear, or some people have called him a.k.a. Tom Frosted. He's a Lower Sioux, and this was taken in the early 1900s. And this photo is by Frank Fitt. The following photo is of Sioux Chiefs. Sioux Chiefs, Two Strike, Crow Dog, and High Hawk in South Dakota around 1891 on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. The photo is taken by C.C. Pierce, and the source is of the University of Southern California Libraries. This next Native American is a man named Garnet of the Oglala Lakota Man, and taken in 1877. This photo was done by C.M. Bell. This next one's a fantastic picture. It's of Apache scouts in southern Arizona in the 1880s. We've covered this before. There is some outlaw we think Apache Kid is somewhere in this picture. I think he is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th one down. The next photo is a fantastic photo of a man named Spotted Elk. He is a Sioux, and this was taken in 1908 by J.A. Johnson. The next photo is a man named His Medicine is Wolf, taken in 1900. He's a Crow medicine man, and this was taken by the famous F.A. Reinhardt. The next photo is of a couple named Spotted Weasel, and they just have his wife as his wife. I haven't been able to find her name. These are Sioux, and this is taken in 1909. There's some fantastic clothing used in this one. The next photo is a great photo of Thomas Noerter. He's a Sioux, taken in 1899. This is done by Hain Photos in the Sources Library of Congress. The next photo is kind of an action photo of Blackfoot tribesmen in Colorado in the 1900s. This photo is taken by a photographer named T.J. Heilman. The next photo is a group photo, as you can see. Standing in the back, we have Joe Miravel. Joe Miravel, he's the interpreter. The next is Spotted Tail, and next to him is Anton Janus. And then the bottom, we have Touching the Clouds. The next one is Sharpnose. Almost to the end is Black Coat. And the last one, the bottom right, is a man named Friday. The next photo is of a man named Coppolis, chief of the Warm Spring Indian Scouts and capture of Captain Jack of the Modocs in 1874. The photo is by a man named Thomas Houseworth, and the source is Denver Public Library. The next photo is of a man named Philip Returned from Scout. He is a Lakota. This is taken around 1880 to 1900. The photo by Geoffrey Duncan, and the source is the Denver Public Library. The next photo is of a man named Flying Chief. He's the head of the North Bloods. The photo is by a man named Ross. No last name given, or maybe no first name given. And this is taken around 1885 to 1886. The next photo is of a man named Alot Apache Subchief in 1900. And this photo is done by Rose and Hopkins. The next photo is of a man named Kix the Iron. He's a Sioux from the early 1900s. This photo is again by F.B. Fisk, and this is from the State Historical Society of Nebraska. The next is a man named Shoutat, an Oglala Sioux man in 1899, and this one is done by Hein Photo. So this next photo, I wasn't able to find actual names of each one of these individuals. We know that they were 4 brothers. They look a lot alike. They look like they're from the same family. So, it's 4 brothers of the Kilka-Hot Band of the Pawnees in 1875 to 1885. And this photo is done by William Henry Jackson. This fantastic photo is of a man named Baby Lone. He's a Kickapoo medicine man in 1970. The next photo is of the famous Taos. If you go there, it's fantastic. You can almost see that the Taos buildings mimic the mountains in the background. This picture is taken in 1878 in New Mexico, in Taos, obviously. The photo is by B.H. Guernsey, and the source is the Princeton Digital Library. This beautiful picture is of a prize beauty contestant in Pendleton, Oregon, Roundup, in 1925. The photo is by Frederick Allen Williams, and the source is NIPEL, which I'm going to assume is New York Public Library. Next photo is of a Paiute girl in 1900 in Yosemite, California. The photo is by D.B. Austin, and the source, again, is New York Public Library. This man is named White Buffalo. He was a Cheyenne. He was born in 1862 and died in June of 1929. The next fantastic photo is of a Northern Cheyenne Chief American horse, circa 1910. I'm assuming he's smoking a peace pipe. It looks pretty spot on. The next beautiful woman is Yellow Buffalo Woman. I couldn't find any extra info other than her name, about her tribe, but we know her name is Yellow Buffalo Woman. This little girl is named Prairie Bird, and I don't know if she was born then, but this photo was taken in 1905. The following picture is of a man named Two Leggings. He's a Crow, early 1900s, and the photo is by Richard Throssell. The source is University of Wyoming American Heritage Center. This family is Andrew Valor. He's a Cree, and his wife, Kutani, and their 2 children inside of a lodge of the Flathead Reservation in northwestern Montana in 1912. The next couple is a bridal couple, Flathead, in Killspell, Montana. I couldn't find their names, But this was taken in 1905, and the source was the New York Public Library. The next photo, I think, is one of my favorites that we've had on the channel. This is of a Navajo family. This is the mother on the left, tying her daughter's hair using a hairbrush, somewhere in the 1920s. And this was taken. The source is University of Wyoming American Heritage Center. The next photo is of a Chief Eagle, a.k.a. Anton Chief Eagle, the husband of Miss Madeline Chief Eagle from the community of Ronan in Lake County, Montana on the Flathead Reservation in 1906. The next photo is of Crow he wears on the neck, or crow collar, and his wife and family by their lodge in the camp of the Sarkie Reserve, number 145 Neil Calgary, in southern Alberta in 1885. The next photo. All the info I could find is just when it was taken. It just shows that there's a woman and a Native American man. I think we can see that, but no actual names given or tribes. The next photo is of a Navajo tribe, and as you know, the Navajo is one of the largest Native American tribes in the United States. It has roughly 300,000 members and a vast territory of 71,000 square kilometers across Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico. There's no actual names I could find of the people, but we do know that they're Navajo. The next is Hashnash Shut, a Wasco Indian chief in the year 1906. The next photo is fantastic. This is of a Chippewa in 1908, and the photo is by Roland Reed. The next photo is Mrs. White Elk. She's a Cheyenne, taken in 1879. The source is Douglas Kenyon Collection. This man's name is Plenty Coues. He is a Crow, and he lived from 1848 to 1932. This next man is an Apache man in 1872. The photo is by W.S. Soule, and the source is the Heard Museum. This man is a Crow. His name is Spies on Enemy, and this was taken in 1898. This next photo is one of I don't know if it's my favorite name, but it's one of the most unique names I've seen through the studies of this channel. This man's name is White Man Runs Him. He's a Crow, and this was taken in 1910. The photo is by Dylan C. W. Gill, and I always wonder how he would get a name named White Man Runs Him, as looked like a high-ranking member of the Crow community. This next photo is a man named Black Jack, a freighter for the government at Fort Defiance. This was taken in 1900 in Arizona, and the photo is by Frederick Monson. This fantastic picture is of a lady named Red Feather. She's a Creek Cherokee singer and performer. This picture was taken around 1920 or 1930, and the source is the Denver Public Library. This last photo is of the famous, which we've covered multiple times on this channel, the Comanche chief, Kuana Parker, standing next to a stagecoach in 1890s. You can see he is not in any traditional wear other than his long braids, and he is dressed in Western wear with the Western pocket watch, and the jacket and the hat look like the boots, so he's embracing his title as chief of the Comanche on the reservation. I've been wanting to remake this video for a while now. One of the most popular videos on this channel was the oldest recorded video of Native American tribes. But there was no context to it. I just put it on the channel, and it did well. But I wanted to make another video and actually have some background to why these dances were done, who they were, and what tribe it was. So we'll start with actually the first one of the two, because they actually are related. So the Buffalo Dance, this first one, is called the Buffalo Dance, or the Bison Dance, is a yearly dance celebration for many Native American Plains tribes. The Cheyenne, the Pawnee, the Omaha, and specifically here, the Sioux. So this festival typically happens when buffalo herds return, and includes a big feast and a dance, where like some of the men would wear buffalo and other animal skins. And they did this because the buffalo and bison were very crucial parts to their society, and they had to make sure they did everything they could to have the herd return to provide enough food and resources. So this first video was shot in 1894. It's a 16-second. I'm going to have it on repeat, but the original 16 seconds, it's in black and white and silent film, because we're still in the silent film era. And it's called the Buffalo Dance Shows, the Buffalo Dance, and it shows people doing their traditional dances. And it's known as the earliest film that we know of Native American tribes. And the Buffalo Dance isn't just a standalone festival. It can be part of bigger ceremonies like the Sundance. And some communities it's even like a dance linked to healing, where they call on the spirit of the buffalo to actually cure the sick. So the next video, and I'm putting them together because they are related. So this first video was shot September 24th of 1894, and it was shot at Edison's Black Maria studio in West Orange, New Jersey. But per film historian C. Muser, who is an Edison film historian, this footage was actually shot the same day. The Buffalo Dance was actually shot the same day as this next film, which is the Ghost Dance. And they came to the studio. Then the Sioux put their full regalia on, and then they did these traditional dances on film. So I haven't found anything about why they did that. Could be for awareness of, bringing information of what the tribes were. Could be for, like, the Ghost Dance, which I'm about to go over, was done for Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, so it could be advertising. But they came into an actual studio, so it looks like it's not out in the wild. It isn't. And I've posted this video and pictures in the past where people have made comments saying, "Oh, their color looks off, and this looks like this other way." This is the earliest. Some of the earliest film we have. It's not, shot in any modern technology. We're still, a long way away from, actual movie. So, it was shot in 1894, and then being restored and kept preserved till now. There's going to be some, like, wear down of the film. So it's not some different. It's Sioux people showing their traditional dances. So to go into the Buffalo Dance, the Ghost Dance, the second video. So they talked about these native peoples as Sioux Indians, and they're mainly actors from the Plains nations, like the Lakota, the Dakota, the Nakota, known as what the Sioux people are. And it took place in the Wild West show, not just Buffalo Bills, but there was a lot of Wild West shows going on right now. They wanted to show people on the East Coast, back, in St. Louis and, Philadelphia. They wanted to show them what was happening out in the Wild West. Places, where they couldn't, they just hear stories. They would literally bring shows of, like, Custer's Last Stand. They'd bring that to them and show them this is what happened in real time. And they would use these Sioux Indians to represent them. So they were usually hired to be, like, staged Indian races in supposed historical battles, often portrayed like savagery and wildness in attack scenes against white people. These shows generally depicted native people as exotic savages engaging in bizarre rites and cruel violence. Native women were dressed in, like, pretty expletive, non-traditional clothes, like men's headdresses and breastplates, combined with, like, pretty, skimpy attire, like, especially for the time, like leather shorts, which wouldn't be worn in their reality. And this is where they performed the Sioux Ghost Dance. So, again, it was shot the same day as the Buffalo Dance, in the same studio. Same day, same everything. So that's why it kind of looks the same. because it was the same day. But some other people who showed up to these Wild West shows, specifically like Buffalo Bill and like Cody's Wild West show. Chief Sitting Bull, one of the most famous chiefs, was one of the star attractions alongside Annie Oakley. During his time with the show, Sitting Bull met President Grover Cleveland, which he believed highlighted his importance as a chief. And he gave a cherished horse to him when he left the show, and he was friends with Buffalo Bill. Another native chief, Red Eagle, underwent 3-year training period at Cody's base in North Platte, Nebraska. And during that time, he developed skills in steer roping, lariat tricks, like rope tricks, and the art of maintaining, like pretty much a firm grip on anything with 4 legs. And he debuted at 13, portrayed like a Pony Express ride. And a year later, the show actually toured Europe. And over several years, Red Eagle became, like, a crucial member of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, captivating, like, audiences through his journey. Other famous Native American names that pop up in these Wild West shows: Ray Plowluck, we just talked about, Chief Joseph, Geronimo, and the Modoc War Scout, a man named Donald McKay.